So long, man. Have a good rest.
Fuck you! Hey! Help me! Taking maybe one step more. Let off to my left foot.
It's now time for The Sit Down with Don Tony.
The Sit Down, where Don Tony talks one-on-one with his followers.
What are you looking at?
About the world of pro wrestling, pop culture, and so much more.
The Sit Down with Don Tony.
And now, your host, Don Tony.
That's right, I'm not yelling, I'm just Italian. The pod father, the dog father is in the house. Let's get it going. What's up, everybody? It is Sunday night, August 17th, 2025. Welcome to your latest edition of The Sit Down. I am Don Tony, just trying to unwind. It's been a crazy weekend. Probably not interested in what happened to me this weekend. Oh boy, this weekend sucked. Had to do so much work on my car. I have swelling, I've got cuts, I've got burns. I don't know if you can see the burns from the radiator. All because of one little light bulb. Anyway, how you all doing? Quite an interesting week in the world of professional wrestling. We'll talk about it. Definitely want to talk about WWE stalking AEW, who's had their greatest year yet, their best year ever, their greatest year yet, best year ever, best year. Keep saying that and you get WWE's attention. Actually, what I say tonight is going to surprise some of you out there, because I'm actually going to defend AEW a hell of a lot more than you think. I'm also going to shoot down some really stupid, I would call it rumors, stupid rumors. This idea that WWE wants TNA to go head to head with AEW on Wednesday night. I thought about that for a minute, especially if TNA is sold to an outside party. That's like me wanting to have sex with my wife and have someone else doing the penetration. You ever hear that? You ever hear a phrase like that? You know, you want to attack someone, but you want to use someone else's dick. I mean, just let that sink in for a minute. Not only that, that would totally screw up TNA. I mean, if we're being honest, TNA is a taped show. You're going to try to go head-to-head with AEW. And what are you going to do, start going live? Oh, look at that. Now you have to quadruple your expenses. Now you have to book venues months in advance. Can't do 2, 3, 4 weeks of taping. I mean, do people actually like take a step back and think about all that is involved with doing live shows? And if you say to me, no, DT, they can do pre-recorded, AEW will beat the living shit out of TNA's ratings. I mean, most of you out there are technically savvy. I mean, you know, I have a little bit of sympathy towards elders out there like Jim Cornette and others, you know, and yeah, WWE is scattered. You want to watch NXT, you got to go here. You want to watch premium live events, you got to go here. You want to watch archive stuff, you got to go here. You want to watch this, you got to go Raw, you got to go here. You want to watch Smack. But in this day and age, it's a click of a button. Is it really inconvenienced? No. But the idea that TNA is going to go to Wednesday night and compete with AEW, you know what I find fascinating? And if you think that I'm wrong, go look it up. Everybody still talks about, Tony Khan hasn't signed any former WWE wrestler this year. Tony Khan has really cut back on how many people he signs from WWE. Have you noticed in the last 2 or 3 years how many people Tony Khan has signed away from TNA? Let it sink in. Is the future going to be Tony Khan signing as many people away from TNA as possible? Go look. You'd be shocked how many people. And think about this. TNA at some points had some very, very short deals with some Bullet Club members, with some others. Some people don't realize that some of the wrestlers, the big main event stars you see in AEW, actually were competing in Impact Wrestling for a short period of time prior to AEW. Tony Khan, if anything, has been poaching TNA wrestlers more than anything else. But I'm here to even say, if TNA goes head-to-head with AEW on Wednesday nights, what a huge mistake. What a huge mistake. I mean, look, as wrestling fans, we eat the popcorn, we have some fun, we troll, we make jokes. But at the end of the day, that would be disaster for TNA. Disaster. Just think about everything that's involved, and you realize that's not going to happen. If you want to interest me, put AAA head-to-head. Put AAA. Just even if he gets 100,000 viewers, just for the fuck of it. AAA is kind of like White Castle of wrestling. It's not something that you really should eat every week, but once in a while you want a guilty pleasure, you have a couple of White Castle burgers. What they used to call murder burgers back in the day. I know they've called them other terms as well, but we don't want to get kicked off of YouTube here. Put AAA against AEW. That's alternative programming, if I say so myself. Omos kicking Microman yesterday. Oh, my God. You can't get away with that. Let me tell you something. Omos kicking Microman the way he did, and listen, let's be honest. I saw all of the fruity, I'm going to start calling them the fruity pebbles of podcasting. I saw all the fruity pebbles out there who claim that they watch MLW, who claim that they watch all forms of sports entertainment and wrestling, and they had no clue who Microman was. As if it was just somebody that they pulled out of an egg box, of an egg carton. Oh, look, Microman. And I watched people yesterday doing this. Huh? What? And I kid you not. They cover MLW for years. I'm like, you don't fucking watch a damn ounce of TV. Or please show me on a replay. Please show me on a replay. I got news for you. After seeing Omos do that to Microman yesterday, I'm convinced Alberto El Patron will be brought back. Not because the fans are chanting it. Not because the fans are chanting it. Honestly, what I would have done yesterday, come on, tell me this wouldn't have been fucking epic. They should have done a post show, had the table with Fruity Sam Roberts or Peter Rosenberg, that schmuck, and Triple H, and have all the Mexican fans going, Alberto, Alberto, Alberto. And you have Triple H turn around and go, you want him? You got Umberto. He just lost the tag titles tonight on AAA. You want Berto? You got Umberto Carrillo. That's what I would have done. Alberto! Alberto! It's a different country. It's a different lifestyle. The way they view, certain behaviors, it's different. WWE's not looking to change culture. Alberto El Patron, I truly believe, will be back. And he'll be in AAA. I don't expect him on WWE television. You mark my words, that'll happen. But seriously, give me AAA on Wednesdays. And I actually would tune in once in a while. Because for years, and a lot of you may forget this. Remember Highlight Billy Reel, God rest his soul? good friend of mine. Just tragic what happened to Billy Real. Just the last bunch of years, he struggled so much with abuse. And man, that's a guy I miss. And he told me about 4 years ago, and we talked about it 4 years ago. AAA's trying to get a TV deal in the United States. AAA is trying to get into the United States. It was the two companies he was telling me about was New Japan and AAA. They're trying to get an American fan base. AAA, New Japan. AAA, New Japan. And New Japan through AEW tried. Really hasn't worked. And I think the problem with New Japan, if we're being honest, is that almost everybody in New Japan that is a Japanese wrestler don't speak English. So you're going to do a show, in the United States, and you're going to say to me, well, isn't that the same with AAA? Yeah, to an extent. The difference is you see with AAA, you got Microman, you got Misty Iguana, and yesterday we got introduced to Demonito. You could actually own that. Did you see WWE Shop has it already on sale? I still have the Charlie dolls. It's amazing how people have totally forgotten about Charlie. I wonder if they're worth money now. I have about 6 of them sealed in the package. I originally bought half a dozen of them and figured I'd give them away on Patron and keep one for myself. And the funny thing about it, and here's the thing about the Demonito. When I ordered the Charlie dolls, the Charlotte dolls, the Charlie dolls, I remember when I ordered them, there was a pre-sale and they weren't going to ship out for like 4 months. And I was like, wow, that sucks. And what happened? If I remember correctly, Charlotte Flair got injured and nothing transpired with Charlotte and Alexa Bliss a couple of years ago. And then finally one day, my UPS rings my doorbell and here's a box. I open it up. It's Charlie dolls. I'm like, the fuck am I going to do with them now? Nobody cares about it anymore. And they've been sitting in a box ever since. Do you want to know when these Finn Balor dolls are going to be shipped? Christmas time. I mean, that's a cool thing to get in time for Christmas, but $99. WWE, which side do you want to stick in my ass? Seriously. I mean, talk about taking advantage. $99. I want to buy one, but $100, man, that's kind of steep. I mean, Finn Balor's getting a nice cut of it as well, but $100? I don't know, man. But I actually, I enjoyed AAA yesterday. It's easy viewing. It's easy viewing. And you know what's so great about it? Yes, we have Corey Graves and JBL doing English commentary, but it's not heavily storyline driven. It feels like an indie show. Like indie shows don't have, for the most part, really deep storylines. I mean, locally, they may have a storyline that'll progress for all the local patrons that go to the shows. But TripleMania, AAA, Worlds Collide, it's like an indie event. You don't need much of understanding of storyline. I mean, Conan did a great job with Corey Graves for Worlds Collide, telling us about history. But at the end of the day, you don't really need to have a whole lot of knowledge. And that's what I kind of feel like what we saw last night. You don't have to think about the last 3 months, the last 6 months, things that are building. It's good to have some pulse of what's going on, but it's not required. And that's what makes it so fun. Makes it a lot of fun for me. So I enjoyed TripleMania yesterday. Sorry if I'm like doing something with my eyes. I don't know what it is, but things are like cloudy today. Things are cloudy, partly cloudy. It's raining outside. Before we get to your questions, because Sunday is about you. Sunday is the lazy show. I literally sit here with no notes. We have a couple of topics we have to obviously address, and then we'll get into your questions. I do want to thank each and every one of you out there for trusting me last week, for trusting me. I'm not trying to start wars with other podcasters out there, and I'm not trying to start wars with people in media. what I did last Sunday on the sit down and carrying over to Monday's show as well was not only showing respect to a friend, carrying Kross, Killer Kross, but also its dedication in memory of my co-host, Kevin Castle, who was very, very tight with Kross. And unfortunately, Kev's voice has been silenced because he passed away. And I know Kev would have a shitload to say about what transpired with WWE and Kross. And yeah, that could get repaired down the line. Don't know if it will, but I had to be real. Out of respect for Kross, out of respect for Kev, out of respect for all of you out there, I had to keep it real. And I was kind of surprised at how many people, we get the douchebags. Oh, DT, what are you, a retard? You can't see it for yourself? It's a fucking work. The shirts are not on sale on WWE Shop. It's a fucking work. It's a work. It's a work. I got news for you. You couldn't even fucking be able to sell me a hot dog if you tried to. Because when Kross is the hottest selling merchandise up until a couple of weeks ago, and then he gets released, and then people want to buy a shirt to show their support for Kross, why would WWE cut the price? You cut the price when you have a lot of merchandise left and you want to liquidate it, you want to get it out of your store as quickly as possible. And slowly, some Kross merchandise will be liquidated. It will be put for discount. But if you look closely, Jey Uso has merchandise on clearance. John Cena has merchandise on clearance. A lot of wrestlers have merchandise on clearance in the WWE. When someone is selling like hotcakes, you don't cut the fucking price. What Pollock would do that? So I'm watching even esteemed journalists. They didn't cut the price. It's got to be a work. You got people still doubling down and tripling down that it's still a work. Oh, it's a work, it's a work. You know why? Because they're too embarrassed to tell you either I fucked up, not me, but them. They fucked up, or they won't admit to you that they jerked you off for a few extra days just to get some ad revenue. Because again, I brought it up Monday, and trust me when I say this, I'm not trying to be a dick. Kross knows. Kross knows very well some of the people out there that knew the truth, that knew that this was not a work, that this legit happened, and they still posed the question. Is it a work? Could it be a work? Is it possibly a work? Look at WWE Unreal. Look what happened with it. Is it a work? Why are you even putting any murky water when you know the fucking truth? So until Kross went on Ariel Helwani, and Ariel Helwani, props to him. And he's like, look, I've never used the term before with other people, but is this a work? And Kross is like, no, it's not a work. Now people realize, okay, the party's over. So there's some people out there that are too babyish to admit that they were wrong, and people who are afraid to tell you that they used you to get some additional hits and ad revenue and keep that little bit murky. And then you got people out there that are still trying to squeeze. You don't do that to people you support. You don't do that to people you support. And it was funny, too, because I guess we could segue a little bit to Triple H. I laughed at the people online that were getting so irate that Triple H is being fat shamed. I mean, I don't ever watch TikTok. I mean, it shows up on my recommended things once in a while, and I'm kind of funny. I kind of laugh at all the girls. We're supposed to be politically correct in some ways in 2025, and almost every TikTok video is a girl that's like, please, I need some ad revenue. Please, I need some money to buy lipstick. Like every video is like, if a girl poses in a bikini on Sports Illustrated's cover, oh, we're going back in time. If a WWE female wears a bikini and shows a little bit of skin or even shows a little chunky ass like Io Sky did a month ago, oh, we're going back in time. We're going back. But every fucking TikTok video is complete opposite of what we're supposed to believe. You think Triple H gives a fuck that some people are commenting about his body right now? I want to show everybody something. Okay, This is the picture that everybody was focusing on. Oh my God, he's got a spare. I call it a dad bod. But you know what was kind of amazing as well? The same morons out there that are really making this into a big issue are the same ones that think that one day, oh yeah, no, Triple H and Cody Rhodes versus The Rock and blah, 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 blah. That's going to be a WrestleMania match. But meanwhile, Triple H had a pacemaker. He almost had the Widowmaker. And, you know, people don't realize you can't work out like you used to. You can't do the things like you used to. And when I saw some jerk-offs that strictly do this just for rage baiting and everything else, you know, I was like, all right, let me put a little logic out there. And I'm like, you could see where his fucking pacemaker is. Oh, I thought he had open heart surgery. Yeah, if you look very, very closely, he had plastic surgery done from ear to here. My father did as well. They sliced from here down to the middle of his chest, and they opened the shit up. He's got a pacemaker. And I wrote it. Have you seen anybody really focusing on the pacemaker? I zoomed in. I found another picture. This is the picture also. And it was funny because when I said yesterday, you could see his pacemaker on his left chest. And people are like, no. That's the shadow of the light. That's just lighting. No, that's not a pacemaker. That's lighting. Well, I found this fucking picture. What are you gonna say? You know, it's a burn mark. It's a burn mark. That's the fucking pacemaker on the left side of his chest. If you look closely, you could see the incision. What do you want? This guy cannot work out like he used to. He can't wrestle. He can't do a lot of things like he used to. There is nothing wrong with his body. It's a dad bod now. We remember the Triple H of yesteryear. I mean, the chiseled body, everything else. But yeah, breaking news. It's life. It's life. It is what it is. You know, I mean, it's going to happen to all of you as well. For some neckbeards out there in their 20s, it's already happened. You know, they're in their basement looking, oh! They're looking down like, oh, you shit, you know. Triple H don't look bad. He doesn't look bad. He has a dad bod, and the fucking guy almost died. He had to get triple bypass, has a pacemaker. You know, just think about that, a pacemaker. You know, if his heart starts going off, he gets zapped to put it in place. You know, it wasn't just, but my father had triple bypass, and some of you on Patreon, I mean, that week that my father came home, I posted a picture of my dad, and this, you know, he still had the fucking staples and stitches, and then I deleted it almost immediately. It was a little too disturbing. But my father didn't even need a pacemaker at that time. So the fact that Triple H has a pacemaker as well tells you, you know, how serious, you know, this is. And people are, I mean, you know, of course, we're not thrilled at Triple H right now. I mean, we're starting to see what we feared many months ago, that creative is starting to really suck. And it's because they just sat on cruise control too long. They sat on cruise control with the Bloodline. They sat on cruise control with Judgment Day. They sat on cruise control with Seth Rollins and CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. You know, they sat on cruise control with Jey Uso and Sami Zayn and a bunch of others. And yeah, Jey Uso had the belt for a short period of time. But you're starting to realize now that they depended too much on cruise control. They figured, oh, you know, we got a couple of storylines. When Paul Heyman said we're just at the bottom of the third inning, you know, like they took that seriously. Like, wow, you know, we're good for the next year and a half. And they got lazy. They're on cruise control. So why, you know, do anything tremendously different? You know, their idea of stirring it up is having fucking Travis Scott show up. You know, turning John Cena heel, I actually am fine with what happened. I'm fine with what happened with John Cena. You know why? Because, and I've said this before, if John Cena would have been babyface all this time, I guarantee you people would have been protesting that he dropped the championship because it was all gaga. Up until the match with John, did you see the interview this week where John Cena said the match with Coney reinvigorated him, lit a fire under his ass? Yes, because that's the hardest he's had to work in a match in years and years and years. 5 months ago, we put number of clusterfucks remaining on the thumbnail, 6. Go count how many matches that ended in a clusterfuck with him retaining his championship. Go look up all the matches, even the one with R-Truth. So imagine if John Cena would have remained babyface during all this time. He would have had a much harder time defending that championship. Couldn't have defended it the way he did. It was easy. It was easier. Kick someone in the balls. Tease a belt shot. Have someone else get involved. Oh, look, that's easy way to get out of a match. What if he was babyface all this time? It would have been much more difficult. So I'm fine with how everything went down. So now what I think is going to happen is the quality of John Cena's matches in the final couple of months will be turned up a notch. I don't think it'll be the lazy train anymore. Just getting back to what I was saying about Triple H and WWE, they got lazy and they were on cruise control too fucking long. You can't have somebody show up and then disappear for 2-3 weeks and then show up again and disappear for 2-3 weeks. We joked about Roman Reigns. I'll never forget right before WrestleMania. Remember that video that we had some laughs about? Oh, and I got a video to show you in a second. Remember the video where he was on the treadmill and he's on Twitter and he's like, I'm not a part-time player, blah, 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 blah. And lead into WrestleMania, and the motherfucker had the WrestleMania match, and after a week, he was gone. I was like, it was almost comical. And I don't have any issue with Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns, they're prolonging his career, and they have cut back, but they have done that with a lot of people. They have taken the scenic route with too many people. You see with Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre, he had a great feud with CM Punk, but let's be honest. Take the feud with CM Punk aside, and you say to yourself, since Clash at the Castle 2022, what's Drew McIntyre really stood out for? And, other than character development, not much. He's fighting Cody Rhodes now, and it feels like when Cody Rhodes won the championship last year. When he won the championship, Logan Paul got involved. I think that might have been his first defense. And then after a couple of months, it was like, I don't know. There's just something about Cody Rhodes' championship reign that just feels underwhelming. Wasn't him. It was just WWE creative overall, because they stopped with this rematch thing. To me, that's telling. That's not innovative. That's not adapting with the times. Stopping rematches just basically says we're not doing rematches because we're going to give people time off. Just imagine if Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns would have had a rematch after WrestleMania 40. That could have kept the storyline going for a couple of more months, but he fucking vanishes. And absence makes the heart grow fonder, and, people started to miss Roman Reigns, and he came back as a babyface, and he didn't need to get leukemia again to get it, to be a babyface. People understood how hard he worked while he was champion. But you look at a lot of wrestlers there. To me, I think CM Punk is probably one of the MVPs there. Gunther as well, and Seth Rollins, just to name a few. But we saw something with Gunther, and we talked about it. You realize they don't know how to use Gunther without a championship. If you notice, when Gunther lost the championship at Mania, he disappeared. And then when he came back, he doesn't want his title back. He wants to beat up Pat McAfee. And you're like, talk about trying to waste time. And you realize Gunther without a championship, they don't know what the fuck to do with him. So after he gets through Pat McAfee, he starts focusing back on Jey Uso. Oh, let's put the belt back on, because as long as Gunther is champion, easy way to give him opponents. People want a championship match. Let's do a battle royal. Let's do a tournament. Let's do a number one contenders match. Let's do this. Guess what? Gunther doesn't have anything to do with that. Then you could have people, I want to challenge you to a title match. No. And then a week later, I want to fight me, defend that championship. No. You're street trash. You ain't deserving. No. And then after 3-4 weeks, you kind of say something that's a little bit insulting. Oh, how dare you? You want a championship match? You got the championship match. I'm like, wow, that was kind of fucking weak. And that's, you look at Gunther without a title, they don't know what the hell to do with him. So WWE has sat too much on cruise control, and now they don't know what the fuck to do. They're having Sami Zayn interact with Solo Sikoa again. Keep in mind, though, when we get towards Royal Rumble time, then suddenly, Sami Zayn wins the Royal Rumble or goes for the Elimination Chamber, goes for the heavyweight title. So it's almost like around Royal Rumble to WrestleMania time is when shit starts really kicking in. Oh, we'll do a swerve here. We'll do a babyface here. We'll do a heel turn here. We'll have someone abruptly cash in. We'll have this. We'll have an unexpected here. This person will show up. We'll have a surprise return. And then everybody's supposed to forget about the 6, 7, 8, 9 months of bullshit before it. That's what's going on now. So as long as people keep showing up like they are, and they're making the money like they are, they're going to keep riding this cruise control. They have enough major players. If I'm going to a WWE event, if I'm getting Cody Rhodes, if I'm getting CM Punk, if I'm getting Seth Rollins, and I'm getting Braun Breaker, and I'm getting, Jey Uso, and I'm getting, that's a pretty solid card. We didn't even talk about the women, because the women are an integral part as well. So they have enough people there that they can fill a card and people will pay. But as far as storyline goes, I mean, trust me, 6 months from now, let's look at what Miro's doing, and let's look what Sheamus is doing, and let's look what some others are doing. And you're going to realize, like, holy shit, nothing's really, developed since then. So, all right. Okay. All right, before we get into your questions, one last thing. This is probably the most important thing for tonight. WWE stalking AEW. I want to laugh at it. I mean, I really want to laugh at it. And trust me, I'm going to defend AEW a lot more than you think. If I support a promotion and I like it and I'm loyal to it, let's use marriage for an example. Let's use a relationship for an example. You have a girlfriend, you have a boyfriend. All right? You're loyal. You're not going to cheat on your girlfriend. You're not going to cheat on your boyfriend. If some chick goes in my face right now, hi, do you have sugar? And she's got her tits hanging out and everything else, I'll be like, yeah, I got some sugar. Or no, I don't have any. Go to the fucking store. If I'm loyal to my wife, if I'm loyal to my girlfriend, if I'm loyal to my boyfriend, if I'm loyal to my husband, all right, nothing is going to make me change my mind. When I watch people online, WWE's going to have John Cena go head-to-head with AEW. What are these people, fucking robots? Just take a step back and think about this. Nobody is handcuffing you. Nobody is tying you down. Nobody is forcing you to watch John Cena. Nobody is forcing you to watch AEW. Nobody's forcing you to watch TNA. Nobody's forcing you to watch anything. So even if every fucking promotion had a show on at the same time, you got to watch what you like. You got to watch what you're loyal to. I mean, think about this. I'm a hardcore AEW fan right now. I'm a hardcore AEW fan right now. I don't know why I was going to pick up the salami, but I'm a hardcore AEW fan right now. World's End. World's End. Okay? World's End. World's End. World's End. Now, suddenly, WWE is going to book a John Cena match against World's End. And I'm going to be like, I can't watch World's End. No. I'm still watching World's End. I watched John Cena's match after World's End is over. Anybody out there that says to you, the WWE's trying to go head to head. These aren't programmed robots. I'm going to reprogram these people to watch WWE. Every motherfucker that decides, I'm going to watch Clash in Paris instead of, I know there's no head to head. I'm going to watch WWE programming instead of AEW. I'm going to watch TNA instead of AEW Dynamite. Nobody forced you to change your mind. If you decided you watch something else, that's because you just chose to watch something else. WWE is counter-programming. Don't watch it. Don't watch it. I mean, it's so, I hate using this word. It is so goddamn retarded because there's people out there that probably graduated college and have bigger shows than me. And they're turning this into like, wow, WWE's really fucking AEW up the ass. They're putting this against this, and they're putting this in. I'm forced to change my mind now? I'm watching Dynamite. No, the TNA is on. Hey, DT, how come you didn't watch Dynamite yesterday? How come you watched TNA instead? Well, because WWE put it up against AEW. Just think about that. Anybody in the last couple of days, I'm sorry, even for my friends too, anybody out there that fed this idea that WWE is counter-programming and as a result, they're fucking AEW. The only people that'll fuck AEW are the fans that chose to watch WWE programming over AEW. That's just like a relationship. If you decide, nah, I'm gonna pork Miss Porky over here instead of my girlfriend, hey, that's your fault. But the pussy was right in front of my face. I couldn't resist. You still gave in. Anybody that hurts AEW are the fans that decide they're not going to watch. That's it. That's it. Now, is WWE dangling things to change your mind? Sure. If someone out there, oh my God, I want to hit that. I want to hit that. I'm going to do whatever. I'm going to get her. I'm going to get him. I want to hit that. And you start dangling things to try to get them to go your way, you might be able to convince them. But if you're loyal to AEW programming, you could put John Cena, you could put fucking Seth Rollins, you could put CM Punk. You could do anything you want. Nobody's telling you you must give in. So anybody that's feeding that stuff, I tell you, I don't even know how to react to that. It's so stupid. Let WWE do that. Now. And here's the thing too. I got to add this too. Anybody that doesn't watch AEW programming right now is probably not going to watch it if WWE puts up a show against it. Like, what you have learned, and we finally get to bring it back. I did a poll about 3 years ago. Some of you may remember this poll. I said, how many of you out there who watch WWE also watch AEW? This is fascinating. I didn't do the opposite. You know why I didn't do the opposite? Because there's some weird AEW fans out there that would never admit that they watch WWE. I hate WWE. I hate WWE. But meanwhile, they're blogging and commenting about everything during Raw, SmackDown, NXT, main event, Speed, anything else you want to bring up. That's why I didn't do that, because if I would have said how many AEW fans also watch WWE, you'd have some people who say, I don't watch WWE. But they think they're doing that because Tony Khan, I'm so proud of you. You go, girl, you go. Thank you for your loyalty. Yeah, don't follow Harvey Weinstein of wrestling. But if you do the poll, how many WWE fans also watch AEW, you get a different response. And almost 70% of the people who took part in the vote voted that they also watch AEW. What does that tell you? What is relevant right now is that a lot of AEW's audience are wrestling fans who also watch WWE. And you want proof? I'll give you proof without even stats. Look at everybody who mingles on Twitter during WWE programming, during AEW programming. Do this Wednesday. Go on Twitter, X Wednesday, when Dynamite is on, and look at everybody out there who's commenting about Dynamite. Then go on X Friday during SmackDown. You'd be like, holy fuck, almost every single person that commented about Dynamite is also commenting about SmackDown. 70% of the people who voted said they also watch AEW. So what does that tell you? If you force me to choose, hey, I'm not committed to any man or any woman right now. I'm seeing a bunch of different people. I'm seeing Jack TNA. I'm seeing John AEW. I'm seeing Joseph WWE. All right, it's okay. You can have all three. You live in Colorado. You can bang as many different promotions as you want. Now you got to make a choice. It's either me or him, or him, or him. It's either me or I'm done. And for a lot of people, in the case 70% of those people, I think a lot of people will choose WWE over AEW. That's the issue here. It's not that WWE is trying to screw with AEW in the sense that, oh, we'll just counter program and then we'll get to fuck up their numbers. Because I think here's the problem. This is something we've said for years. And believe it or not, a lot of the bigger podcasters out there still haven't brought this up. The AEW refused to accept that a huge load of WWE fans also watch AEW. Remember I used the ECW comparison? I'm sorry for bringing this story up again, but it's very, very pertinent here. I went to my first ECW event in 1994. First one, I went to Philly. I should rephrase that. I went to the ECW Arena in 1994. When I went with four of my friends. I remember one of them was wearing a Rangers jersey. I don't remember what I was wearing, but we went there and we had some friends that were in the building. And I'll never forget it. We went, I think, to Tony Luke's, a couple of blocks away, 8. Then we went into the building, went inside. We're kind of dismayed by the smell a little bit, but we saw a couple of people we were friendly with, and they brought us over and like, hey, these are the guys from New York. Oh, the New Yorkers. And it's not that we were fearing that something was going to happen. We thought, we'll be trolled a little bit, because of the hardcore ECW fan base. And everybody was cool. And it was like, hey, we're all in the pool. Hey, put your feet in, the water's warm. Take a dip in the pool. That's what happened in ECW. ECW, if you supported ECW, it didn't matter if you were from Pennsylvania or Jersey or New York. It didn't matter if you were black, white. It didn't matter if you were a man or a woman. It didn't matter if you were in a wheelchair. It didn't matter what walk of life you came from. It didn't matter if you were 800 pounds or 80 pounds. If you were a fan of ECW, you were family. And they made you feel like family. In AEW, though, this idea online is that WWE is the enemy. Now, I watch AEW too. I'm watching it more now than I have in recent time. But for me, I prefer WWE for various reasons. I will watch both, But if I'm forced on a particular night to pick one or the other, it depends if there's money involved. If AEW is doing a pay-per-view and it's $60, I'll go watch WWE first, and then I'll just watch it on YouTube or Twitter or, video, whatever, Video Motion, Daily Motion. There's always someone online that has the footage, and I'll watch it for free. That's just me. But AEW, since day one, I'm not saying when Cody did the sledgehammer to Triple H or others there, but since day one, AEW allowed, and you know what's funny? This is spectacular. This is fucking spectacular. This past week was the anniversary of when WWE announced that NXT was coming to Wednesday nights on USA Network. Now, some people have tried to make you think this week that, oh no, WWE, they announced NXT before AEW or after AEW, and they're trying to fuck with the programming. No, the fact of the matter is, for people that don't remember how this went down, WWE NXT was always on Wednesdays, even before the USA Network. But when you watched it on the WWE Network, it just dropped randomly during the day. It didn't drop at 8 o'clock at night. It used to be dropped on a Wednesday. So when they were moving to the USA Network in September of 2019, I think it was, they actually started before AEW. Their announcement was afterwards. So people were like, oh, that's fucked up. Look at WWE. They're going on Wednesday night to go up against AEW Dynamite. They were always on Wednesday, but they were now going to be live or on tape, 8 o'clock on USA Network. So that's where it was head-to-head. You had to make a choice. But since day one, AEW has always made WWE the enemy. This coming history episode, I have a quote from Tony Khan praising NXT coming to Wednesday nights. Not praising it, but good luck. Basically saying, hey, it brings out the best of everyone. And, he also felt that AEW is going to be the stronger product, but he was very diplomatic about it, as was Chris Jericho. After that, that's it. From 2019 to now, WWE is the enemy. WWE is the Harvey Weinstein of wrestling. WWE is the bald asshole. WWE is this. Poke, 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 poke the bear, poke the bear, poke the bear. I love Dustin Rhodes, but for 5 years, he sat back and watched this toxic environment on social media. And then when WWE started getting sticked in the ass a little bit, oh, we're all wrestling fans. At the end of the day, we're all wrestling fans. Can we all get along? Stop the hate. Stop the hate. Stop the hate. Where the fuck were you for 5 years? When did anybody in AEW tell your fan base, listen, we thank you for the support. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for your podcast. Thank you for the love. But, there's no need to get toxic. There's enough for everybody. We take pride. We believe that we're better, but, support everybody. Once in a while, you have an individual person that'll say that. Will Ospreay said that, I think, this year. He's like, I don't have anything against the wrestlers themselves, but, oh, really? We forget 5 years ago, you feud with Seth Rollins and you feud with this person and you making fun of WWE here and ripping WWE here and ripping WWE here, ripping WWE here, ripping WWE. When you couldn't even be a member of the 700 Club in your ratings. Now, all of a sudden, I have nothing against the wrestlers. People always want to make kumbaya when they start getting their ass handed to them, whether directly or indirectly. So what's happening now is that for 5 years, too many people have fed into Tony Khan's ego and his immaturity. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Tony. Thank you for not releasing people during the pandemic. Thank you, Tony. You're the greatest. You're the best. Thank you, Tony. The world is better because of Tony Khan. Wrestlers have jobs because of Tony Khan. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Tony. WWE's evil. You are good. WWE's Harvey Weinstein. You're an angel. You're a priest. You're this. Or WWE is this. WWE. Unfortunately, when I look at WWE, I don't see a set of balls. I don't see a vagina. I don't see both. Is it he, she, they, him, her? What is the WWE at 3 letters? So when you rip WWE, you're ripping everybody in WWE, from the wrestlers to the fans to the people that work there. They say WWE as if it's a human being. Even this week, WWE is bad for wrestling. Oh, really? You telling me Drew McIntyre and CM Punk and Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns and Jey Uso and Sami Zayn and Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan and Bayley and Stephanie Vaquer and Julia, they're all bad for wrestling? No, it's not who I meant. Well, tell me who you meant. I can't tell you that. Why? Because I'll get sued. All these motherfuckers in the media world, the podcasting world, and all these unhinged fans online that use WWE in a broad sense, the reason why they do that is because if they start naming names, you'll realize 2 things. Either one, they're going to get their ass sued for slander, or breaking news, said person or persons don't work there anymore, aren't even alive in some cases. When they say WWE, who are you talking about? Nick Khan? You talking about Triple H? Who are you talking about? You still bringing up Vince? He's not even there anymore. Other people. So every time you see a motherfucker out there use WWE, say, who in WWE are you talking about? And they'll never ever give you an answer because they're petrified of being sued. So what has happened? Poke, 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 poke for 5 years. And now, for this year, Tony Khan goes to Costa Rica, is on a yacht with some fucking fruitcake on the media. AEW is having the best year ever. Well, what kind of financial numbers? Oh, yeah, but it doesn't matter. AEW is having the greatest year ever. You get some jerk off that's aspiring to be a journalist online that is thinking, how can I get the most attention from Tony Khan? Oh, my sources tell me that Max is getting 500,000 viewers. And it's not a publicly traded company. So Tony Khan's like, yeah, I heard, when people ask him, yeah, I heard it got 500,000 viewers. And you realize he's basing it on some random schmuck online that just threw a number out there. They have no proof. Investors in Warner Brothers Discovery stock don't even fucking know. But Joe Schmuck that has WrestlingVirgin.com knows. And what happens? It's not a publicly traded company, and Tony Khan embraces the fake news. So now if enough people say the same thing, it must be true. Meltzer says it, this person says it, this person says, this person says, we really don't know the exact number, but we heard it's in the range. That's almost like, I think she likes me. She looked at me. She likes me. Nobody fucking knows, but Tony Khan just accepts it. So what happens? Oh, biggest year ever. Ooh, we now have a profit. We're doing 500,000 on Max. Greatest year ever. So WWE is now like, hold on a second. AEW is having the greatest year ever? Wait, they're getting 500,000 on Max? Even though our deceiving eyes show empty arenas, but no, it's the greatest year ever. It's an amazing year. It's just, ooh, then they're becoming a threat. It's like my skin cancer, starting to spread a little bit. I think we have to stop it before it gets any bigger. This is their greatest year ever. We must stop it, eliminate it. A lot of you out there, WWE is evil. You motherfuckers painted this picture all year long that this is the greatest year ever, the biggest year ever, the most amazing year ever. The 500,000 on Max. Dynamite is beating Raw in the numbers. Netflix numbers are fake. So if AEW is doing so amazing, wouldn't they be a threat for WWE? See what happens when you start giving the perception that somebody's very, very, very successful. Guess what? People want to shut your shit down. Just like Kevin and I, God rest his soul, when we started building our numbers. We started getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, 06, 07, 08, 09. And the bigger we would get, people would try to fucking spam our show, fucking flood, our thing with this, try to shut us down. Look what happened 2 weeks ago. After a year or so, I went live for a pay-per-view recap and somebody tried to fucking sabotage my live stream. When you give the perception that you're very successful, there are people out there that want to do something about it. So this is why WWE is doing what they're doing. And here's the problem with AEW in a nutshell. If I could describe the AEW fan base, the AEW product, the community, I think community is the right word. I could describe it in one word. Not everybody, but the people who matter and the loudest people in the room. The best word I could use for AEW is insecurity. For 5 years, they want you to believe that AEW is neck and neck with WWE. They're the number two. They're the number two. The minute Vince McMahon retires, not even 5 minutes later, Tony Khan on Twitter, I'm the longest tenured CEO in wrestling today. There's this desperate need to topple WWE, beat them on the NXT ratings, kick their ass, commercials. Oh, no, it was Warner Brothers Discovery that made the commercial. Oh, yeah? And who fucking forced you to go to TNA and put on some goofy sunglasses next to Tony Schiavone and start trolling Nick Khan and everybody else? Why do you think everybody references Tony Khan in the executive world as Nick Khan's kid? Because they feel he's an insecure little immature baby. And this is what's been going on for years and years and years. So insecurity is the best word to describe everything that's been going on. Everything had to feel bigger. You get a match, everybody, the most amazing match of all time. Oh, this is the greatest pay-per-view ever. This Mercedes Moné is the greatest woman in history. This is the most amazing run in the history of the world. And I'm not knocking Mercedes Moné. She will be the women's wrestler of the year. And I agree. But everything has got to be epic, amazing, unbelievable. It's certified, this is awesome chance, and blah, 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 and this is amazing, this, and unmemorable. Look at all the heart emojis. The people out there that have this weird obsession with capital letters. This is cinema. Everything had to be, see, you said AEW don't have storylines. What do you say about this? This, insecurity. Insecurity. Now, there's no confidence. Because if WWE wanted to fuck with you, you know what I'd say? Bring it. Bring it. We have the greatest wrestlers. We are the best wrestle. We have the best programming out there. We truly believe that we're better than anything else. We're having the most amazing, strongest year yet. We're having awesome numbers on Max. Max is the future. We're having great this. This is the best year ever. Bring it. Bring it. Because we're confident enough that our fan base will not leave us. Bring it. Bring it. That's the attitude that everybody should have. Good. You want to have John Cena go up against me? Fine. No problem. Look what happened when John Cena and Undertaker were on NXT. NXT didn't break 1 million. That motherfucker, little baby, Tony Khan, went on Twitter and said, history was made tonight. The Undertaker and John Cena were on a WWE show that didn't even break 1 million viewers. Insecurity, insecurity, insecurity. There is no confidence. Some wrestlers have confidence, but the people out there don't have. AEW is evil. They're evil. Why can't they just leave us alone? Leave us alone. What about you for 5 years? Leave us alone. It's just like Dustin Rhodes. With all due respect, for 5 years, you said nothing. You've never said to the AEW, not everybody, the toxic fan base of AEW, guys, look, we appreciate your love and support, but that's not necessary. It's not needed. Go on somebody's Twitter. Listen, appreciate everything that you do, love your shows, or keep doing what you're doing, but that's not needed. You don't need to go there. That's not what we're about. No, it's just after you start getting it in your ass a little bit, leave us alone. We want to be, can we all be, we're wrestling fans. We're a big family. This toxic is not necessary. Nah, man. You poked the bear too much. Now the bear wants to bite your arm off, and there's nothing you could do about it. Nothing you could do about it. So, if I were AEW, confidence. Just no sell WWE. Let them do what they want to do. You're having your best year yet. Build on that. Stop with this. They're trying to stop with the victim mentality. You did that fucking 6 years ago with Cody Rhodes with a fucking sledgehammer to the throne. That wasn't like, we'll show them we could stand up to you. No, that's insecurity. Like, fuck you, you're the enemy, fuck you, you're the enemy. Stop that. Because a huge part of your wrestling fan base watches WWE. And when you start acting uncool, WWE is unreal, AEW is uncool. This is not cool. You could do any post-fucking speeches you want in the ring on Dynamite, rah-rah speeches, Twitter posts just to boost confidence and ego, but insecurity keeps coming out. Stop with the insecurity. You're having your greatest year ever. You're having huge numbers on Max. You're having this, you're having that. Just eye on the prize. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing something right this year. WWE wants to bring it? Fine, bring it. You're wasting your time. All you're going to do is you're going to piss off your fan, but worry about your creative. Worry about this bullshit that you're doing on TV. Worry about your contracts. Worry about, your future. That's what you need to do. So, I did my hour of ranting. So now we spend the final hour. We'll run until 10 p.m. Eastern. I want to see if we could finish at exactly 10 o'clock. That's my goal for tonight. So, I see a lot of questions out there. I'd like, if you don't mind, like to answer some who sent some contribution. I think it's only fair that, they go to the front of the line. They do support what we do here. Then we'll go right to the chat room. And like I said, we'll run until 10 o'clock. So let's get into first Tommy D. Tommy says, DT, do I think TNA could compete against AEW on Wednesday nights? And what day do I prefer TNA air? Thank you, Tommy from Brooklyn. I do, like I said at the beginning of the show, I do not think it is smart for TNA to go up against AEW. Financially, it would be disastrous for them right now. The amount of money involved to tour and go live, they can't handle it. TNA's gotten more attention recently because of NXT stars showing up. If you look at the end of the day, TNA's roster is pretty much what it was a year ago, 6, 7, 8 months ago. Not much has changed. There's a reason why even on Access TV, they haven't fucking gotten any boost in viewers. I mean, there's enough people on that have access to Access, no pun intended. And with everything that's gone down in the last 6, 7 months, you would think you'd hear news. Wow, Access, even though they're leaving Access, their viewership is almost doubled in the last 6, 7 months. I always bring up when Tessa Blanchard was the champion there, the world champion. They were doing 230, 260,000 viewers on Access TV. Now, what is it, 70,000, 80,000? Why is that? I mean, I get it. You have many more ways to watch programming, but when was the last time you heard anybody say, wow, TNA's viewership is doubled or has gone up significantly? It hasn't. So you're going to tour and go live? For a pay-per-view, you could draw 6,000, 7,000. But if you're going to go tour in a weekly, plus how much is this going to cost? You're going to ask people to spend that kind of money on tickets? They want to do weeks of tapings. Going up against AEW on Wednesdays is a huge mistake. I don't think it'll happen. It'll be a huge fucking mistake. And guess what? Even if WWE were to buy TNA, You have NXT. Like, why do you need TNA? I mean, if you truly want to put something on a Wednesday night to fuck AEW, you don't need to buy a whole new promotion and fucking a different roster and put, I mean, my God, they don't even want to keep Kross under contract. You're going to fucking buy TNA and then you're going to have to pay 70, 80, 90 people between Office and everybody else just to go up against Wednesday nights. I mean, you know, it's just money-wise, that's insane. So no, I don't think TNA should go up against AEW. What day of the week would I do? I would do Thursdays. I'd keep it Thursdays. I would consider Sundays. I get it. Whoa, you know, pay-per-view, this and that. I got news for you. This coming week's history episode, I have a clip from Tony Khan, a fabulous interview he did about 5 years ago. And it's amazing because he talks about Endeavor. He talks about Netflix. He talks about ESPN. This is 5 years ago before there was any deals ever done. He also talks about why WWE moved to Saturdays on their premium live events. There is legitimate reason. This is a fabulous interview that you probably have never heard before. It's not even in the wrestling world, this interview. I found this by accident. And I think Sundays, you could do it 6 o'clock at night if you want, you know, but I think Thursdays is better. I just think people need to push Thursdays a little bit more. Most people are home on Thursdays. I think keeping it Thursdays, but just boost that interest, flood the net. Thursday, must see Thursday. I think people will tune in. That's what I would do. Ronnie C., did I meet up with Curtis Lewa yet? No, I have not. I don't know if I should even mention this now. I think people will get a kick out of this. How many of you know who the Guardian Angel Curtis Lewa is? You know Curtis Lewa from the Guardian Angels? You remember him on Morton Downey Jr. from back in the day? He's running for mayor here in New York. By tomorrow, it's going to be all over the news anyway. Curtis Lee was running for mayor here in New York. He ran 4 years ago, whatever it was, against Adams and lost. Get a load of this. Curtis Lewa has a love for my neighborhood here. He had family in this neighborhood going back to the 50s and 60s, and he has been a frequent visitor of my neighborhood. So he's running for mayor, and he just set up a campaign headquarters. I mentioned this on Patron Thursday. I'm mentioning it here for the first time. His headquarters is right next to my office. He actually rented the office right next to me. Tomorrow, for those that are hearing this right now, tomorrow, as long as there's nobody in the office, because I'll look like a creep, I'll take my phone, and when I open up my office door for 10 o'clock, I'll show everybody the office next door. He's actually renting the office right next to me. So I don't know what to expect. I just envision protesters showing up. I envision politicians having meetings there. It'd be pretty fucking funny that he's going to walk into my office looking for free coffee and stuff like that. Yeah, he actually, literally, I'm not kidding. You see, like, all right, let's put it this way. You see that Daphne sign? I literally could, that's how far his office door is from mine. So he's renting the office right next to me until the campaign is over. So I'm supposed to actually meet him one day this week because he wants to know his neighbors. And, you know, I'm not helping him. To be honest with you, I don't like politics at all anymore. I'm not voting for anybody. I don't like any candidate. You know, I appreciate, you know, his spirit and everything, but, you know, I don't think he's winning. But trust me, I thought about maybe doing a wrestling, you know, interview with him, but I just don't think it's necessary. So no, I haven't met him yet. I wasn't in this weekend. I do know that he was in my neighborhood yesterday, and he was at New Park Pizza. If anybody knows about New Park Pizza, he was there yesterday eating pizza. There's a whole bunch of coverage online about it. So, And I didn't forget about the video clip I'm going to share with everybody in a moment. It's a very eerie clip involving Bray Wyatt. If you tuned into this week's history show, you know what it is. Ronnie C., Chris Jericho's AEW deal expires in December, and he says he'd consider going back to WWE. Do I think AEW re-signs him, and do I think WWE would take him back? I think WWE would take him back because he's been in WWE for many, many years. He knows how the WWE machine works. He knows that he would not have the power that he has in AEW. So if he were to go back to WWE, he would go back pretty much as talent and nothing else. I personally think that AEW will re-sign him. When they lost Cody Rhodes, that was a disaster because that person who wore the suit, that met with executives, that met with buildings, that met with media, that met, that one person who was on camera and behind the scenes, they never replaced that person. Jericho got more power when Cody left, but no one ever filled Cody's shoes. If Jericho leaves also, I mean, who do you put in that position? Bryan Danielson? I don't think Bryan Danielson wants that. I think he is content, part-time, staying home with family and enjoying life. I think AEW will pay Jericho a shitload to keep him there. Jericho is very, 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 very important for that company. 4 years ago, I said Jericho is their the third most powerful person in that company. People thought I was nuts. I think people understand now why I say that. Jericho is very, very, very important for that company. And Tony Khan being a billionaire, I mean, yeah, you don't like overpaying for people, but Jericho is in a very important cog in that wheel. I think AEW keeps him. I think the only way Jericho ever leaves AEW is if he has a massive falling out. Tony Khan could afford him. So I think Jericho stays with AEW. I'd be shocked to shit if he were to go. I'd be shocked. Jim Kahn, 1479. If I was in charge of AEW, what changes would I make? Mostly on the creative side. Spur of the moment, that's kind of loaded. I would start evening the playing field a little bit on the women's division a little bit more. Mercedes 8 belts is great and everything, but a lot of women have suffered as a result, and they're running out of people that really could, hang with her. You got to start even in that playing field. You got to give that suspension of disbelief that someone at any given time could win a match. The problem is they have so many people there, the way they're booked, you could predict 90% of the time who's going to win a match. I also think stop with the stipulations and everything. Stop with the $500,000 challenge and 200. Nobody believes that. That's corny shit. That's AWA 80 stuff. I would also, diversify, the titles a little bit more. It just seems like the titles in many ways are a prop. What I mean by that is you look at Becky Lynch, women's champion, or Lyra Vaccaro when she was champion. You look at, with the exception, I mean, Cody Rhodes is an exception and so is Seth Rollins, but for a lot of championships, the Wyatts, the Wyatts are champions right now because they're perceived to be the top team in the company. For AEW, and this is from someone on the outside looking in, and this is not throwing shade at them, but there's enough people who feel the same way I do. It feels that the titles are a prop. So when you do advertise that Mercedes Moné is there, she is 8 belts Moné. Okada is this champion. This person is this champion. Like every person there that has a championship title, it feels like it's being put on someone to make their name seem more important. Like you should feel a little more important being champion, but it feels like it's a prop. So when we advertise certain names, champion, 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 I would take the focus away from that a little bit. I would cut back on stipulations too. It just, that's a few things right off the bat that I would do. And again, I would just change the feeling, that they're the victim, that's the enemy, we're a victim, this and that. That's a few things, it's just, it's way ahead of my pay grade. If I thought about this, I'd probably come up with 100 other things, but sometimes less is more also. We don't need pay-per-view quality matches. We don't need every match to be 10 minutes long. We sometimes, outside of Wardlow and Miro at the time, sometimes a squash match is necessary. Sometimes a fruit roll-up is necessary. Sometimes somebody screwing someone is necessary. Having the referees have a little bit more authority is necessary, because when anybody could do anything at any given time for any given reason, nothing feels special anymore. There's so many things, but thank you for that. Starfighter 88, in terms of Naomi's situation, do I think WWE Unreal has already caused damage to the industry? It's hard to take anything seriously. No, because I think back with Wrestling with Shadows, I think of Beyond the Mat. I think of, TV news stations doing specials on wrestling and, talking about behind the scenes. Unreal was pretty much kind of like, guerrilla position. Like, we saw a little behind the scenes. The people, listen, Kevin Owens talking to Cody after the match, that's human. Even though I don't like Travis Scott, him FaceTime and Cody, that's human. Like, I don't have any issue with that. Obviously what you saw, they're trying to portray it a certain way, but no, it didn't damage anything. Real life comes in a way. We don't know what's up with Naomi. Maybe she is pregnant. And like I said last week, if it ends up that she's pregnant, it's because people had the speculation like, oh, if it isn't this and it isn't this and it isn't this, then it must be this. Nobody had inside sources. Trust me. No one was in the room with Jimmy and Naomi when the pregnancy test was done. If that's what happened, we don't know what happened. But no, WWE Unreal, it honestly, it didn't even attract outside viewers. They were trying to make people that aren't wrestling fans get so into the behind the scenes that, hey, maybe I want to see the finished product. And it didn't happen. They're going to do a season 2 because as long as it's profitable in some way, it's better than nothing. And WWE records everything anyway. I mean, they have decades of footage that we've never seen. So, I didn't take Unreal very seriously. And WWE pulled back a lot because the way they portrayed it originally was much, 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 much deeper than what we got. So we'll see what happens. Casey is Raw says Deli Man needs to be in AAA. Trust me, I would love to, no pun intended, don the mask again. But no, I would do it on the show, but no. I don't think I physically could do it, but I appreciate that. And listen, for people that go back with me many years, the origins of Deli Man. Believe it or not, my creation of Deli Man was based on Lucha Libre. Swear to God. Back when I was doing the early podcasting days, Minority Report, Kev, I used to say, wow, they have, Chessman and this man and Aquaman and this. I'm like, we should have Deli Man. Like somebody who has a salami, cuts cold cuts, use the chicken gizzards like a mandible claw. We need Deli Man. You had something man with everything else. And that's how it was created. That is the true story. That's how I created Deli Man. I had a professional company make me a red, white, and green mask for the Italian colors and put DM. You see the top, it says DM for Deli Man. And that's how Deli Man was born. It was based on Lucha Libre. So that is true. Thank you, Casey. Devin, why does the Viking guy have old school Roman heat? Because Very simply put, they appreciate WWE getting involved because they know that more money will be put into it, better production. Having some WWE wrestlers, they absolutely love Dominic Mysterio in there. Getting a little bit more variety. And listen, for the people the last 24 hours that were like, oh, it was a lot of WWE stars on the card. You know, we've been covering AAA, TripleMania on the history shows. You got a lot of TNA wrestlers. Matt Riddle was on it, Brian Cage. There's been a lot of American wrestlers on TripleMania. Dolph Ziggler last year, you know, Nick Nemeth. There's been more than I think people realize. But the reason why I think Vikingo is getting the heat is because Alberto El Patron was doing great. And it feels like as soon as WWE got involved, Vikingo was Paul Levesque's boy, Triple H's boy, WWE's poster child. We have chosen you to be the portrayal of what AAA is. And Mexican wrestling fans are angry. Listen, Vikingo's been there many, many years. You'd be surprised how many years Vikingo's been there. He's been cheered before. They don't like that WWE has chosen him and burned El Patron as a result. Trust me. And that's why I believe Patron will be back. You're not going to Americanize AAA as much as you think. You know, a lot of people from the States, and I understand why, a lot of people in the United States think that AAA is becoming more Americanized so we can enjoy it as well. And to an extent, but you can't take away its core nucleus. It can't take away its core audience. And it's still a Mexican promotion. And whether you like it or not, Alberto El Patron is one of their top guys. And it feels like he was forced out. Listen, he made his own bed. He made his own bed. But in Mexico, the way they handle things and view things are a lot different than how we do it in the United States. And I think WWE realizes that, and I think they will bring Patron back. It'll be a storyline, but that's why Vikingo's getting the heat. Not that he did anything wrong. They're just going against WWE's decision to make him the number one guy and burn Patron in the process. Best way I could put it. Hollywood guy, with all due respect, I don't think that TNA has the roster to compete, per se. I agree. AEW has a better roster. He has a feeling that WWE wants to see TNA fail, and WWE will buy the promotion as punishment. I got news for you. TNA is not as much as you think it is. If TNA is sold, I think people might be a little bit shocked on how cheap TNA would be sold for. They have an amazing library, no question about it. The library is more valuable than you think. Although, you know, we don't have DVDs and, you know, Blu-rays like we used to, but still that library is still very, very valuable. But I agree with you. And listen, Tony Khan could keep signing TNA guys away. And what happens? You know, what are you going to do? I mean, they signed Ace Austin. They signed Josh Alexander not too long ago. I mean, I'm sorry. I feel like Josh Alexander has taken many steps back because you realize, and here's the problem with, you know, someone had said to me earlier, like, what would I change in AEW too? It feels like AEW, and it's pretty obvious, Tony Khan has his favorites. And it is really, 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 really difficult to break through. You know, you've seen some people get close to breaking through, but they never truly do. Swerve Strickland might be one that really broke through that you wouldn't have expected. But the problem is you bring in these other names and it just feels like, okay, you know, I'm just adding something to the menu. But they don't feel special. Ace Austin, he just started, so I'm not going to grade it yet. But Josh Alexander, he's just taking a spot. So if Tony Khan wants to blow money, just keep signing people away from TNA. Sign people away from TNA. And, it's just like, you can't, put it this way. Does anybody ever get angry at the TNA stars that sign with AEW? No, because that's their choice. They want to work for AEW. It's just like fans. Why do you get mad at fans who choose to watch WWE over AEW when they go head to head? It's their choice. If Tony Khan keeps signing TNA guys away and girls, you look at Deonna Purrazzo, with all due respect. You remember when we talked about Camille earlier this year? Remember the Ghost? And I said, and what did the Ghost say? Deonna, you're next. Boy, did that age freaking well. Deonna Purrazzo, look how they've used her. And WWE cannot replace those stars being signed away. What do you fill them with? NXT? So if Tony Khan wants to really fuck with TNA and WWE, just keep signing people. Keep signing people. Okay. He has a feeling that WWE wants TNA. WWE does not want TNA to fail. But TNA going up against AEW is not the answer. No. Trust me, for some of you out there that were not wrestling fans, when TNA went head-to-head with Raw on that Monday night, when Hogan debuted in TNA, I think it did 1.4 million. And it was a decent number, but it was a disaster after that. And they realized, okay, that was not smart. Now imagine going up against AEW Dynamite, which is far less, attracting, let's be honest, when Raw was on, going up against TNA. Didn't Shawn Michaels retire at that time? There was a few things that were going on at that time. So, you definitely don't want to see them fail. T. Smitty, 3000, what's up? Next time WWE talent is let go, shouldn't the wrestling media contact WWE and simply ask if WWE decided not to renew or come to terms? You couldn't do that. Doesn't mean they're going to answer. You see, one thing that I have stressed is that someone's contract is none of our business. If someone is not re-signed, sure, we'll know about it, but it's none of our business to know if somebody signed or they didn't sign. It's none of our business to know if an offer was made or not. That's very personal. For some wrestlers, it is very, very personal, and they don't want their business made public until they want it made public. But I personally think media needs to make more attempts. I will say this until the day I die. And that's a good segue into the video clip. I'll show you in a second. Every time you see a bullshit story come out there, whether it's Meltzer or Post Wrestling or any other website out there, or they make a claim, always take note, they never add the words, "We reached out to Karrion Kross for clarification and received no reply. We reached out to WWE for comment, received no reply. We reached out to so-and-so for a response and received no reply. We reached out." You never see that include. You'll see it on Fightful, and you'll see it on PW Insider. You'll see it on few websites. Once in a while, you see it with those people too. But when you see somebody make a claim and they don't say, "We reached out," okay, all right. Word around the campfire is that Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae's contracts could be up soon. Not trying to stir up stuff, but that's a discussion we had many months ago, and you know the reasons why. Sausage. I'm just using that as a random example. Okay. In the very near future, you might see a website say, "My sources tell me that Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae's contracts are going to be coming up soon, and they have not been offered a renewal. We reached out for Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae for verification or for comment, received no reply. We reached out to WWE for comment and received no reply." They could turn around and say it's none of your fucking business. But whenever somebody puts a claim out there and you say to yourself, why not just ask the person? Because they don't want to know the answer. Like I said, for a month leading up to last Sunday, for a month, I got DMs from a few people in the podcasting world and 2 people in the media world that asked me, hey, what's going on with Kross's contract? And I would usually respond and say, to be honest with you, it's not something I really want to ask him because that's very personal. And if he wanted me to know, he would tell me. I mean, ultimately, he told me. But, I would be like, hey, if I hear anything, I'll let you know. And then 2 weeks ago, a couple of people got back to me. Any word? Any update? No, I haven't heard anything else. And the day that he reveals the video, it says, today is my last day of my contract. Not one of those people DM'd me for confirmation. You know why? Because if they would have reached out to Kross and reached out to anybody and they were told, no, man, this is real. It is not a work. It is real. This is legit. It's no bullshit. Then, you know what those people would have done last week? Motherfucker, I can't murky the waters. I can't fucking say, is it a work? No, because you were told. Straight from the person. It reminds me of the AJ Styles story. Never, ever forget it. Somebody should bring that up to AJ Styles. He remembers it clearly. To me, this was the quintessential example of bullshit dick news websites. AJ Styles, 5-6 years ago, whatever it was, his contract was coming up with WWE. And some bullshit wrestling website, might even be Post Wrestling, I don't know, but some bullshit website reports, my sources tell me that AJ Styles just signed the deal. He is staying with WWE. Yay! AJ Styles personally emailed the journalist and said, listen, you should have just asked me, but I will tell you, I have not signed a contract yet. So I would appreciate an update. You know what that person did? That person wrote back to AJ, trust me, I saw the email. That person wrote back to AJ Styles and said, I trust my sources to be correct. Basically, you told AJ Styles, I'm going to stick my phenomenal forearm up your ass. I don't believe you. How disrespectful is that? AJ Styles personally contacts the person and says, I didn't sign the contract. He would ultimately sign the contract. But in the world of journalism, you usually don't want to reach out to the source of the subject because if you're told the truth and you run with the story anyway, why do you think so many people complain about Meltzer the last couple of years? Dave, look at the Thunder Rosa story recently. Dave, you could have simply reached out to me. I would have told you the answer. Why did you write that? Why did you report that? They don't reach out to these people because they don't want to know the answer, because if it's the answer that they don't want, now they can't write the story. That's how this works. AAA show would beat Dynamite. I don't know if AAA could do a weekly show, to be honest with you. It'd be kind of hard, especially if you have a lot of Mexican wrestlers that don't speak English. You could subtitle, no doubt about it, but it'd be a very difficult thing to do every single week. Trust me, I would love it. Again, AAA is like an indie show, and it's like White Castle. Not good. You don't want to eat it every single week, but once in a while you kind of enjoy it. And you actually, I enjoyed TripleMania yesterday. Wasn't, the most amazing thing about it is, what do you think the payroll is for some of these people? The payroll is extremely low. When you hear, wow, WWE signed Hemmerguesa, signed Flammenga, Flammer, whatever it is, signed all these people and couldn't sign Kross. I don't think people understand how small these contracts are because of Mexico. Remember, front row tickets for a AAA pay-per-view, VIP treatment, maybe a chair, maybe even, well, we're not going to say that, $70. You want to sit second, third row, $40 for a pay-per-view. In the United States, $8,000. AEW, $1,500, $2,000, sit second row. AAA, pay-per-view, $40. So that's why when you think about it, WWE very smart to get involved with AAA because the expenditure is far less than what it would be. That's why you're not going to Americanize AAA. Because you start Americanizing AAA, then you got to start spending like a company in the United States. And I don't want to say this, but I might be exaggerating. I think Conan is the best person to ask for this, and maybe somebody wants to ask him. I think the amount of money WWE would spend to produce one pay-per-view might be what it would cost AAA to produce theirs for a whole year. That might be a little bit of a stretch, but I don't think I'm that far off. So Bobby Mean says this is what happens when you continue to poke the bear. Tony Khan has no one to blame but himself. He's destroying his own creation and it won't even matter. Listen, you know me. I like to have fun with Tony Khan. I do believe what I believe. I truly feel the way I do about him. I think he was a special needs kid growing up, which is nothing wrong with. And I think his father gives him special attention. And, you know, listen, it's his only son, I believe, and he, you know, they love each other. And I'm not saying that Tony Khan is on planet Zoom, blah, blah. You know, Tony Khan is very, very smart. If you follow Tony Khan in the advertising world outside of the Jacksonville Jaguars and AEW, you'd be like, holy fuck, he's smart. He is very, very smart. But I also believe that he's very immature. I do believe what I have said about the autism side. I know people hate to hear that. There's nothing wrong with autism. Like I said, there's different levels of it. I have family and friends that are autistic, and they have better lives than I do, I even think. But it's to the level of where someone has to be coddled. And I'm not just saying physically, just emotionally. You know, it's got to feel like, you know, and you hear about the rumors how Tony has these tantrums and CM Punk yells in his face and he thinks he's going to be killed. You know, this is a person who's been in a bubble his entire life. Maybe it's just the case that his father protected him too much from today's society. And, you know, he is still in this bubble. You know, lives on a, $20 million yacht with his father. You know, does not have a family, does not have any kids as far as I know, doesn't have a husband or a wife, don't hear nothing about hobbies. To me, he's just a billionaire kid that never grew up, and he's given toys and given things to do. And the most startling thing for me is outside of wrestling, when you look at the business world, you look at the NFL world, and they don't reference Tony Khan as Tony Khan. They say Shad Khan's kid. This is somebody past 40 years old. You know, when you have billionaires referencing an owner as someone's kid and they're 40, and he shows up wearing the neck brace and he's drinking his coffee and he's still looking the other way and people are laughing at him, you know, like, what do you say? How do you react to that? To me, he's just a kid that was too protected, never learned the real world. You know, CM Punk yelling at him, thinks he's going to die, you know, and unfortunately, this is what it is. But I do not think Tony Khan is killing his company. The guy could lose tens of millions of dollars a year, and it doesn't even break 10% of what he's worth. You know, the only reason why the word profit is coming out right now is insecurity. Insecurity. How's about none of your fucking business? It's not a publicly traded company. It's none of your fucking business. But everything has got to be positive. Best year ever. Most amazing ever. This is amazing. This is the biggest ever. The biggest ever. Most amazing ever. The greatest ever. The biggest ever. It's insecurity. So I don't think he's destroying his company because he's got Billions. The man could lose $50 million a year for 10 years, and he would still have, $10.5 billion left? AEW could lose money for 50 years and he'd still have money. So is he really losing money? If he's enjoying life, and I say this complimentary, if Tony Khan's enjoying life and he's having fun and, the wrestlers are content and the network is content, even if he's losing $100 million a year, is he really losing? He's living his best life. This is his best life. This is how he wants to enjoy life. If everybody's having a great time there and everybody is, I think this is AEW's best year as far as locker room and camaraderie and atmosphere behind the scenes. Absolutely. I will say that I think this is AEW's best year with that. But it's not about, remember when CM Punk said this is not a company about making money? Yeah, I think that's how you sum it up. This is someone who has a very expensive hobby, and we get to enjoy it with him. So he's not ruining his company. He could just keep dumping hundreds of millions of dollars, and it could exist. So, and WWE can't start dumping tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars to try to fuck with AEW. WWE investors will say, no. That's not what we want. They want WWE growth. They don't want AEW to fail. There's a big difference here. AEW fails doesn't necessarily mean WWE makes more money. Investors in WWE do not want to see AEW fail. They want to see WWE to grow. And dumping that kind of money to try to fuck with AEW, you see how quickly that stock goes down. That's why a lot of what you read this week, it's people want drama. People want controversy. People want this atmosphere. And the problem is, for many people, they feed right into it. All right. Any chance for a super show with Jason Solomonster and JD? I don't see why not. I think it would have to be the right set of circumstances. They are busy with their shows, but I don't see why it can't happen in the future. I'll tell you this much. In November, they're going to have a big autograph gathering here in New York, and I'm going. And Kross is going to be there. A bunch of others are going to be there. And I'm definitely going to be talking to a few people, maybe do an interview or two. And who knows, maybe we can even podcast. I'll tell you the truth. A friend of mine owns an Italian restaurant and would give us the bottom floor to, for ourselves. And I might end up having a bunch of people and we just go out to eat after for nothing and just turn the recorder on and just fucking talk, conversation over cannolis, so I don't know. Right now, it's just early thinking. I haven't talked to anybody particular yet, but we'll see. Never say never. Hollywood guy, WWE makes all the money, but cannot sign Kross. Well, I look at it like this. They only got 4 hours of programming a week, and they're having a very difficult time filling time for others. You could see on TV who they want to push. When they do a 10-man TLC SummerSlam match for the SmackDown tag titles, although amazing, the reason why I had to put 10 people in there is because SmackDown is only 2 hours and their roster is too fucking bloated. And it's like, we don't know what to do with these people, so we'll just have, 10 people compete in this instead of 3 teams, like you would normally do it. And, it turned out to be great, but that is why you see LA Knight on Raw. Now you got Sami Zayn on SmackDown. Now you got Solo Sikoa and the MFTs, mid-forever Tongas, showing up on Raw, and then they're on SmackDown. They're trying to, maximize time for some, but they don't have time for others. And the problem is there are some people, and this is, look, I've said a lot about Kross and this situation, and I'm not saying this to brag, but you guys know, nobody came fucking close last week to be as accurate as we were. Nobody. That's because, our obvious advantage, knowing the situation personally and being friends and having respect, that you treat the situation with respect, and guess what? You end up telling the truth. No one came close, but I'll say this, I truthfully believe that Kross could have saved Triple H from drowning, could have cured cancer, could have fucking, ended up saving everybody from a burning building in the Performance Center. And I think WWE would have said to him, look, we don't have anything creatively to put you in a big situation right now. In the future, maybe somebody gets injured, somebody retires, somebody fucking fails a drug test, something like that, and that opportunity will open up. But right now, we don't have a spot. We can't fill that spot. And they kind of like put Sami Zayn in there, but we realized within 2-3 months, we're like, this is going nowhere. If we're honest, like it's just like a 20-minute trip that took 6 hours to get to. And I truthfully believe that at this particular point, going into the end of the year with John Cena's retirement and Cody Rhodes being champion again and Seth Rollins being champion on Raw and Roman Reigns being involved and Drew McIntyre and CM Punk and Logan Paul, and there's a few others, that I truthfully believe that creative was like, look, for 2025, we cannot fit Kross in here. And we don't care what you do. We cannot, we just only have so many hours in a day. And he started getting momentum. Kevin Kazar came out. He did his promo at Sam Roberts' thing, and people got angry. They don't want him mingling with fans because that creates popularity, and popularity creates chance, and that gets more attention, and it trends online. And next thing you know, everybody's talking about this guy. We still don't have time for you. So at the last minute, they're like, here, take it or leave it. We'll keep you around, but take it or leave it. What about Scarlett? We'll worry about it later. That's New York gangster stuff. Yeah, we'll talk about it later. Just sign. Just sign. It's all right. We'll definitely talk about it. She would have been whacked. Not physically, but she was never going to be re-signed. And Kross is like, how'd you get to this number? Like, what about this? What about this? What about this? How did you come up with this figure? What about revenue? Is it, you don't have any break? No. 24 hours. Come on. Andre. Vamos. Let's go. Vamos. Hurry up. But I don't do business like, fuck you. We take the contract back. I know I'm exaggerating, but that's pretty much what happened. 24 hours. No. That's it. We're done. Nothing he could do was going to change the direction that WWE's going right now. He wasn't going to force a yes movement. He wasn't going to force anything because WWE is going in this direction. Look, they have nothing for Sami Zayn right now. I'm convinced they told Sami Zayn, let's just get to the Royal Rumble. Or Elimination Chamber. That's when shit will be kicking in. But for now, we're going to have to redo the bloodline stuff and this and that. We got nothing for you, but, Why do you think look, a couple of weeks ago, Sammy's taking time off. For what? Is there some holiday that we don't know about that he has to travel to another country and walk 800 miles on a mountain? Like, why is he taking off? Is there an illness in the family? Is he just kind of mentally tired, physically tired? Does he have an injury that we don't know about? Is he burned out? Why is he taking time off? Not even 2 weeks later, he's back. Well, what happened? I'm convinced they have nothing for Sami Zayn until Chamber or Royal Rumble. So that's the deal with Kross. He would have had to sit in catering. And they don't do that anymore. Simple website hosting. DT, when am I doing a Forbidden Door podcast with Vince Russo? Or even an interview with Ariel Helwani? That would be a blast to watch. I don't think Ariel Helwani would want to have me on. I mean, I did hear from someone who has a pretty damn big podcast out there that is very, very well liked, that's very politically correct, that does interviews, and we've talked a little bit in the past, and that may actually happen in the future. But Ariel Wani, I don't think, he's in a different league. I don't see that ever happening. I mean, I would love to have him on. If he would come on with me and we just talk about his background when he first got into wrestling, when he did his podcasting 20 years ago and shit like that. I think that would be fun. As far as Vince Russo, we could do that at any time. Vince Russo would come on. I absolutely love Vince Russo. I disagree with some of his comments, obviously. I disagree with some of his views. Him and Coach were going off the rails for a little bit. I think it'd be fun, but, it's got to just be the right time for the right reasons. I don't want to just have someone on just to have someone on. But I thank you for that. Shit'll be happening soon. All right, I want to just, before we get into the final 10 minutes, this might be no big deal to all of you out there. To me, it kind of creeped me out a little bit. If anybody out there did not check out this week's history show, I have a lot of footage, a lot of research stuff, because I've been covering wrestling since 1997. I have a lot of notes. I have old files, links, things that I've just glanced at, didn't pay attention to back in the day. And this coming week is the 5-year anniversary of SummerSlam 2020. And the main event was The Fiend beating Braun Strowman to get the Universal Championship, I believe. Also, Dominic Mysterio took on Seth Rollins. Bunch of other matches we'll cover in next week's history show. But 5 years ago, you had various WWE stars doing media. And one of the persons doing media was Bray Wyatt. And Bray Wyatt was asked, a female, I don't remember her name, but she was working for Fox at the time. She may still work for Fox. She interviewed Bray Wyatt about SummerSlam 2020. And she asked Bray Wyatt, besides the Fiend match, is there anybody else you're looking forward to see at SummerSlam? And he mentions one person. And I want you to hear the advice that he offers to this person. It's kind of eerie to look back on this, but get a load of this.
So besides the Fiend match, obviously, what are you looking forward to at SummerSlam?
Well, other than this new Thunderdome spectacle, I'm pretty excited to see Dominic. I remember Dominic when he was a kid, and he's like 6'4", at least a foot taller than Rey. And if he's like a big, giant, impressive Rey Mysterio, I'm interested to see how that pans out, because I know how great Seth is, and I know what Seth's capable of, and I'm interested to see how he's developed and where this is all going. Another one I'll be really interested to watch.
Totally. Would you have any advice for him heading into that match?
Yeah. Let me think here. Don't die.
Oh, that's really good advice. Thank you, Greg. I'm sure he hasn't thought of that. That's very helpful.
Even if he has, he hasn't thought about it the way I think about it. So
I can only imagine how you think about it.
Right.
So it's a scary thought, my friend.
Yeah, scary it is. That sucks, man. That sucks. I was looking at old media from that. I'm like, wow, out of all the advice you could give, don't die. Man. All right. Let's start bringing this home. Let's get into some other questions. That's creepy, right? Sad. It's sad. Rest in peace, Bray Wyatt. Absolutely, man. I tell you, it's, there's a lot of mess in this room. And, little by little, I've been cleaning stuff up because I'm trying to find a few things. And I'm blown away how much Bray Wyatt memorabilia I have in this room. Just boxes laying around. I mean, I know I've showed you stuff before, but I look down and you got all these holiday boxes, brand new sealed, and statues and bobbleheads. And it's just sad, man. Really sad. Clinton's asking, is Gangrel too old to wrestle? I think that's a bridge that has been passed a little bit too much. I think at some point, like, you know, you got to just let it go. I mean, we've kind of revisited that before. I personally don't think if Edge and Christian, listen, and I still think there could be a storyline swerve to this. There might be a major swerve at Forbidden Door, but even if there wasn't and they reunite, I don't think you always have to keep going back to the Brood. The Brood was the 90s. What about E&C when they were having fun? I'm not saying that Christian's going to start playing a kazoo again, but I'm like, you know, there was more of Edge and Christian than just the Brood. And I don't think we need to keep going back to the Attitude Era, you know, because they've had some legendary shit, and why not, you know, incorporate a little bit more of today? I don't think it's needed. I don't think it's needed. Absolutely, Greg. Thank you, Bo Dallas, for keeping Bray's spirit. No, not JPEG. Did I say Greg? Not JPEG. Yeah, for keeping Bray's spirit alive. And listen, although WWE's done a horrible job, they did a horrible job in 2024. I still say the Wyatt Six was the biggest disappointment of 2024. Just the way they were brought in and the way they ended up being used and the way they disappeared. And even now, it's like, you know, but despite all that, thank you, WWE, for at least having something on TV. It's better than nothing, you know, but you got to remember, too, that's 5 paychecks. You know, they're making some money off of Universal and, you know, for the Halloween time. But, you know, this is not boogeyman contracts. You know, it's not like you keep Boogeyman on a contract for a couple extra years. You know, he makes very, very little. You got 5 salaries that you're paying right now. And, you know, I don't know how much longer they continue that. Roderick is asking, when Seth's career ends, who will be seen as his greatest rival, Roman Reigns or CM Punk? You know, I'll be honest with you. As of right now, I think some people would say his greatest rival is John Cena. I think CM Punk is better than Roman Reigns, and I'll tell you why. Because I notice every week that I'm doing a history show, it's kind of amazing to see 5, 6, 7 years Seth Rollins is talking about wanting to have a feud with Roman Reigns or wanting to have a match with Roman Reigns. If you don't believe me, look it up. This week in I think it was 2019 or 2018, might be 2018, Seth Rollins did an interview and they were talking about Roman Reigns and The Rock at WrestleMania 35. Okay, we're up to WrestleMania 42. They were talking about Rock and Roman at WrestleMania 35, and Seth Rollins said at that time, I don't want to see that. Give me versus Roman Reigns instead. So to me, there's been a lot of missed opportunities with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. At the end of the day, I think they would go with Roman Reigns because I don't think Seth Rollins would want to celebrate CM Punk as his greatest rivalry. He'll just say, that wasn't a rivalry. I hate him. Ha ha ha. You know, I think he'd rather celebrate Roman Reigns. So as far as history goes, Seth Rollins absolutely will choose Roman Reigns, not CM Punk. Benjamin is saying, why are people claiming fans are making a moo sound, Felhio del Viqueño? Reminds me of the Boohums joke from The Simpsons. I don't know. It's, you know, again, you know, the Mexican culture and their reactions to wrestlers could have to do with his outfit. I listen, there's a lot that we don't relate to as Americans, just as Mexican fans don't relate to the way we act sometimes, and as far as wrestling goes. Trying to understand and interpret a different culture based on what we think it is usually wrong. I don't think it's anything of it, because put it this way, look at El Grande Americano. Ludwig Kaiser's knocking it out of the park right now. But look at El Grande Americano. If there was one guy that here in the United States would think would be hated beyond belief in Mexico for mocking the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of America, mocking Lucha Libre, it would be El Grande Americano. And he's one of the most over-fucking people in Mexico. What does that tell you? We totally did not understand how the Mexican fans would react to a character like that. Anybody out there that called it racist is just a flat-out retard. Anybody out there that thought the Grande Americano character was racist towards Mexico is a fool, is a moron. It was never racist. It was poking fun. And guess what? In wrestling, if you do it well and people enjoy it, it gets over. Yeah, Grande Americano got more cheers than Dragon Lee. Dragon Lee is very well respected in Mexico, but people see how hard Ludwig Kaiser is doing with this. And they appreciate it. Listen, make no mistake about it, Chad Gable is 1,000 times better than Kaiser in this role. But Kaiser, props to him, man. He's fucking killing it right now. He's killing it. I enjoy it. And it was so fun to see, him singing yesterday and everybody singing with him. And I'm watching people on social media, especially in the United States. What's wrong with these American fans? Like, what's wrong with these Mexican fans? Like, don't you understand? This is racist. He's making fun of you. You're supposed to hate him. What are you doing? Stop. People want that cancel culture. All right. Let's take 3 more questions and we'll jet. Yeah, if you enjoyed the show, smash that thumbs up. Sends a little message to YouTube that you enjoyed tonight's show. We'll wrap this up in about 5 minutes. Here's a little tidbit. Dominic Mysterio will be taking on El Hijo del Vikingo on the next big show that they do. I don't know if it's another Worlds Collide, but they are doing another big show. I think that show either Alberto El Patron returns or Dominic wins the belt. I think Dominic, as the AAA mega champion, is definitely in the near future. The thing is that you're not going to bury Vikingo because of it. You can have Vikingo feud with Patron with no championship on the line. And that could be where it's going. Dominic can end up winning a belt, and that allows Patron and Vikingo to feud with no belt on the line. Sometimes a belt really hurts a feud. And I think that's another advice for AEW. Sometimes the people who you want to be champion should not be champion. Because when nobody has a belt on the line, it makes the feud easier to book. Because if someone's a champion, how do you book them to lose when you don't do DQs all that often? You don't do countouts that often. When someone's a champion, it is very, very difficult to book them to lose. So some people in that company should not have belts right now because we would have so much better feuds because that person can lose once in a while. And because there's no championship on the line, you don't have to worry about a title change. That's another piece of advice for AEW. Bob the Builder wants to know my favorite CM Punk match of all time. The Hell in a Cell with Drew McIntyre is near the top of my list. Feuding with Raven. What was that? House of Fun, Raven's Rules, the Clockwork House of Fun, I think it was. CM Punk enjoyed some of the work there. The match with John Cena was fun. I think Drew McIntyre, Hell in a Cell, is got to be up there for me because they did a hell of a lot more than I ever thought WWE would do, and it was necessary because the match matched the feud, the hatred. I hate when two people were trying to convince us that they hate each other, they want to kill each other, and then they're doing headlocks and arm drag takedowns. Kevin and I used to joke about that in the mid-2000s. We used to see people on WWE TV. I can't stand you. I hate you. I hope your family dies. When I get you in the ring on Sunday, I'm going to beat your ass. I'm going to put you in the hospital. And the first thing they do is a collar and elbow tie-up. And we used to see that, like, oh, fuck you. So that's probably what I would go with. Boris is saying, am I looking forward to the Raven documentary? That's tricky. I don't know. Because there's a couple of things about Raven that I'm very curious to see if they're going to tell the truth about. So, yeah, I'm interested. But I will say this. If they try to change some history with Raven, I'm not going to be the one to correct them. Let me put it that way. I just have a feeling there's going to be some revisionist history. And I will tell you this. There are enough people out there in the wrestling world that if they try to revise some history about Raven a little too much, you're going to see some people very, very pissed off online. All right, before we jet, Mr. Saturn, can I gloss over the death of the original Abismo Negro that we covered, how he got stuck in the mud and drowned? Thank you. Much love. I honestly do not recall ever talking about Abismo Negro. I have to read. Yeah, that's an oddball one to talk about here. Because what year did he die? He died in 2009. Yeah, here's the thing. And this is, to be honest, just telling you straight out. In 2009, most of us was not watching CMLL. It's not that we didn't want to watch it, but here where I live in New York, you had Telemundo, Channel 47, Channel 41. You would get a little bit of AAA on Saturdays. You get a little bit of CMLL. But we really were not, given, and plus everything was in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. I don't understand Spanish. The only Spanish I know is Chochahuena. So, even when he did a little in Impact Wrestling, it was just so small. But no, I'm looking at the original article, and, they found him dead in March of 2009. I'll tell you the truth. I have the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show episode from March of 2009. As far as him being found by a river, I don't recall the American wrestling world talking about it all that much. And I'm not trying to be a jerk right now and say that, people were joking about it, but it was such a strange story to cover. And I'm looking at some of the, what they were saying, how they discovered his body. I don't recall us really getting into that all that much. As far as getting stuck in the mud, trust me, I know Kevin, myself's humor at the time, not to poke fun at him, but it would have been like, yeah, he got stuck in the mud in more cases than one, because he really never had an impact, no pun intended, on American wrestling. It was usually, the Mexican culture. For here, us in the United States, in the early 90s, when Worlds Collide, that was the introduction for us for a lot of Lucha Libre and Eddie Guerrero and, Art Barr and others. And then you had ECW in 1995, and we got Ray, Psychosis, Juventud, Conan, La Parker for a little bit. Eddie was there, Dean Malenko was there, and then WCW took them all. But even in WCW, we really, that obviously was before Abismo Negro's career. So that was our exposure to Mexican wrestling. Conan just got put in the AAA Hall of Fame. And he brought Lucha Libre to the United States. But as far as Abismo Negro goes, this was not someone that we had a lot of exposure to because we really didn't watch CMLL or AAA in the late 2000s and early 2010s. Actually, I should say the early to mid 2000s because he died in 2009. The death was strange. It was bizarre. You know, it just, but I don't remember a lot of controversy around it. It was just like, wow, you know, somebody who died tragically that, you know, they found him where he was and, you know, that was really it. There wasn't much, you know, believe it or not, I do remember this, and this I know for a fact. Dave Meltzer definitely paid a great tribute. As much as we criticized Dave Meltzer in 2025, he did do a great tribute for Abismo Negro, because I do remember when we talked about some of his accolades. I don't remember if Wikipedia was around at that time, but I know Meltzer in his newsletter did great obituaries back then. You know, I don't see them as solid now, you know, because there's so much information out there already that we have. But he definitely wrote a great tribute. I'll tell you the truth. I promise you this. You don't have to super chat me again or anything like that, Saturn. But sometime this week, I'm going to go check out that third or fourth week of March in the DTKC show and see how we covered it. And if it's something, you know, noteworthy, I'll clip it and I'll share it next week. But I'm pretty certain that we did not, you know, I think we were just more like, wow, you know, talk about, you know, like a way to go. Like that sucks. But it was not a big story in the United States that I do remember. So, oh yeah, Byron, I have Thunderdome ready for next week's history show. That's a trip. You know, I listen, the little kid in me came out. I will never ever forget that for Monday Night Raw, the last ever thing you will see in the Thunderdome era is Rhea Ripley getting the pin and me right front center ringside. That was a very cool moment for me. That brought the little kid out of me. You know, as bad as listen, I make no mistake about it, Thunderdome is not, you do not replace live fans with Thunderdome. It was not the same. And when I go back and do the history show, it's not easy to play clips from that time because you either have no fans or you have white noise and it sounds horrible covering it. But, you know, when I did Thunderdome like, 14 times? And I had fun. I had fun doing it, interacting, you know, with whoever the host was and the producer at the time. That was cool. And they knew that I covered it. We did some watch parties as well. And, you know, I'll never forget. You know, the last episode, they put me right behind the commentators table. And you saw me, I had the deli man thing on, and I'm doing the Randy Orton pose with the salami and everything. And then, I don't remember who the producer was, but he says to me, he goes, Ant, make sure you have your deli man stuff ready. And I'm like, okay. I'm thinking like, I don't know what he's going to do. And he moves my screen from behind the commentator's desk to the ringside front row. And it was cool. It was cool. And the video's there. You could all see it. So, all right, everybody. I'm going to jet. We are 10:15. So I still have, you know, some time. I'll tell you this much as we close it out, just to show you like how things suck sometimes. So I get pulled over from a cop about a week ago. He says, you didn't have your turn signal on. And I'm like, no, officer, I did. So he says, maybe one of your bulbs are out. So I turn the right turn signal on in my truck and I look outside and sure enough, my front bulb is out. And I'm like, officer, I honestly didn't know. I said, it was blinking fast, but I didn't think that the bulb was out. She's like, all right, I'm not going to give you a ticket, but just change the bulb. I said, okay. So I go on Amazon and I order $3 bulb to change my blinker in my Kia. So Amazon delivers the bulb and I go to replace it. You know, I unscrew the thing from behind the light and the thing I unscrew breaks in half. So I'm like, fuck, now I got to buy the housing to stick the bulb in. So I go on Amazon the next day, I order the housing. They deliver me the housing, and I get the housing, and it's not the right one. So I send it back, and I order another one. So now we're into Wednesday of last week, and they send me the right housing this time. So now I had to order the housing and the bulb. I put it in there. I stick it inside the light. I turn it this way, and I hear crack. And I look down, and not only is like my hand like kind of like bruised from it, but I pull it out, and I see like plastic. And I'm like, what the fuck happened? I take my iPhone, I put the light down there, and the whole back of my housing for my front headlights broke. So I go on YouTube to see how do you fix it, and I literally had to buy the whole headlight assembly, the 3 lights and everything, and it's $180 for one side. And then I ordered it, and I get it, and my wife says to me on Friday, she says, well, that's going to look good. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, you're going to have one brand new and one that's 13 years old? I'm like, you bitch, motherfucker, why didn't I think of that? So I had to order the other side. So today I replaced both sides. I have pictures, I got video. I know it's no big deal, but a $3 bulb turned into a $400 bill. That's how life treats you sometimes. A $3 fucking bulb that burnt out, I had to replace. Now it looks awesome. Front of my truck looks great. You get brand new headlight assemblies on both sides. And it wasn't that hard to replace them. I did it myself. $3 bulb turns into $400. Be well, everybody. Much love. Want to thank you all, as always, for your support. If you are around Monday night, join me and our extended family in our Discord channel. You can find it at dtkcdiscord.com. We will be live. We'll talk about Raw. We'll get into news, talk about whatever else we have to talk about. I'll be live right after Raw Monday night. So hopefully you could join me, and definitely check out this week's history show. This week was a hell of a lot of fun. That was a fun episode to cover. And next week is the anniversary of CM Punk's first appearance in AEW. Rampage, The First Dance. 1,129,000 viewers. Pretty damn good for Rampage. So yeah, this week was the anniversary of CM Punk and Jack Perry's confrontation backstage at Collision, when Jack Perry wanted to break a rental car's window, and CM Punk's like, we don't do that here. You want to do that on Wednesdays? Go right ahead. And Jack Perry held that grudge against CM Punk until All In and Cry Me a River. And this week was the anniversary of it. So be well, everybody. Much love as always, and thank you for the support, and I'll catch you all in the next one.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody. while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.